Vacation horror story, The Island's Secret. The story begins with a group of 5 friends, Emma, Jake, Lisa, Ryan, and Sophia, deciding to take a vacation to a remote tropical island. The island, known as Eclipse Island, was advertised as a hidden paradise with pristine beaches and dense, untouched jungles. They rented a cabin located at the edge of the jungle, far from the main tourist areas, excited for a peaceful retreat away from the chaos of city life. Arrival and strange encounters. Upon arriving, the group was greeted by an eerie silence. The island, though beautiful, felt oddly deserted. The local guide, an older man named Mateo, warned them to stay close to the cabin after sunset. "The jungle has secrets," he muttered cryptically, before leaving them with their bags. The first night was uneventful, but the group noticed strange symbols carved into the trees around the cabin. Lisa, who had an interest in anthropology, suggested they could be ancient tribal markings. Jake brushed it off, saying it was probably just local superstition, unexplained phenomena. The next day, the group decided to explore the jungle. As they ventured deeper, they stumbled upon a clearing with a massive stone altar covered in moss and surrounded by the same strange symbols they had seen earlier. A chilling wind swept through the clearing, despite the oppressive heat of the jungle. Emma swore she heard whispers, but no one else admitted to hearing anything. That night, Ryan woke up to the sound of footsteps outside the cabin. Peeking through the window, he saw a shadowy figure standing at the edge of the jungle, staring at the cabin. When he woke the others, the figure had vanished. The discovery. Determined to uncover the truth, the group returned to the altar the next day. They discovered a diary partially buried in the dirt nearby. The diary belonged to a researcher named Dr. Elena Morris, who had visited the island decades ago. Her last entry read, "The island is cursed. The spirits of the ancestors protect it, and they do not take kindly to outsiders. If you find this, leave immediately." As they read the entry, they heard rustling in the bushes. A guttural growl echoed through the clearing, and they fled back to the cabin. The night of terror. That night, the group decided to leave at first light, but as darkness fell, the cabin became a prison. The shadowy figure reappeared, joined by more silhouettes emerging from the jungle. The group barricaded the doors and windows, but the whispers grew louder, filling their minds with terror. Suddenly the power went out, plunging the cabin into darkness. A foul stench filled the air, and the walls began to shake. Emma screamed as she saw a ghostly face pressed against the window, its hollow eyes staring directly at her. The escape. In a desperate bid to survive, the group made a run for the beach, guided only by the faint light of the moon. The jungle seemed alive, with branches clawing at them and shadows darting between the trees. They reached the beach, only to find their boat destroyed. Mateo appeared out of nowhere, urging them to follow him. He led them to an old, hidden boat. As they pushed off from the shore, the shadowy figures stood silently at the water's edge, their glowing eyes watching as the group escaped. Back on the mainland, the group reported their experience to the authorities, but no one believed them. When they returned to Eclipse Island with a search party, the cabin and altar were gone, as if they had never existed. The friends never spoke of the incident again, but each of them was haunted by nightmares for the rest of their lives. Sophia, the most affected, claimed she could still hear the whispers in her dreams, calling her back to the island. The camera pans to a view of Eclipse Island, shrouded in mist. A faint whisper echoes, "Come back." The screen fades to black. Vacation horror story, The Island's Secret, Part 2. The story picks up 6 months after the horrifying escape from Eclipse Island. The group of friends, Emma, Jake, Lisa, Ryan, and Sophia, has gone their separate ways, each trying to cope with the trauma in their own way. However, the island's sinister influence has followed them into their lives. The haunting begins. Sophia begins to experience vivid nightmares, where she finds herself back on the island, standing in the jungle clearing near the altar. The whispers are louder now, almost deafening, calling her by name. She wakes up screaming, drenched in sweat. Meanwhile, Emma notices strange occurrences in her apartment, doors opening on their own, shadows moving in her peripheral vision, and the faint sound of waves crashing, even though she lives miles from the ocean. Jake starts hearing whispers during his shifts at work, and Ryan sees fleeting glimpses of the shadowy figures in crowded streets. Lisa, the most skeptical of the group, tries to dismiss it as PTSD, but when she finds the same tribal symbols carved into the trees in her backyard, she knows something is terribly wrong. A message from the Island One. Evening, Sophia receives a package with no return address. Inside is a weathered journal. It's Dr. Elena Morris's diary. There's a new entry that wasn't there before. You cannot escape. The island is part of you now. Return before it takes everything. Sophia immediately calls the others. They reluctantly agree to meet at Ryan's house to discuss what's happening. During the meeting, the group shares their terrifying experiences. They realize the island isn't done with them. It's calling them back. The journey back. Desperate for answers, the group decides to return to Eclipse Island, hoping to end the nightmare once and for all. They contact Mateo, the old guide, who is hesitant but agrees to help. You shouldn't go back, he warns, but if you must, you need to follow the old ways. The spirits won't let you leave twice. Armed with supplies and a deep sense of dread, they board a small boat and make their way back to the cursed island. The moment they set foot on the island, the atmosphere is different. The air feels heavier, and the jungle is unnervingly quiet. The group notices that the cabin, which had disappeared before, is now standing, but it looks older and more decrepit, as if decades had passed. As night falls, the jungle comes alive with unsettling sounds, branches cracking, guttural growls, and whispers that seem to come from everywhere at once. Mateo guides them to the altar, warning them not to stray from the path. At the altar, they find a new carving on the stone. Sacrifice must be made. Mateo explains that the spirits demand a sacrifice to restore balance. He reveals that the island was once home to an ancient tribe that worshipped the jungle spirits. When outsiders desecrated the sacred grounds, the spirits cursed the land and anyone who dared to trespass. The group argues about what to do. Jake, overcome with fear, suggests they leave immediately, but the others know they won't survive another escape attempt. Sophia, who feels the strongest connection to the island, volunteers to stay behind, believing she might appease the spirits. As the group pleads with her, the jungle erupts in chaos. Shadowy figures emerge, surrounding the altar. The spirits are no longer waiting, they are taking. In a desperate attempt to save Sophia, the group tries to perform a ritual using instructions from Dr. Morris's diary. They light a fire, chant the ancient words, and offer personal items as symbols of atonement. The shadows pause, their movements uncertain, but it's not enough. The spirits demand blood. Sophia steps forward, cutting her palm and letting her blood drip onto the altar. The jungle falls silent. The shadows retreat, and the oppressive atmosphere lifts. The group collapses in relief, thinking it's over. As dawn breaks, the group prepares to leave the island. But as they reach the beach, they find Mateo gone and their boat destroyed. Sophia looks back at the jungle and sees the shadowy figures watching from the tree line. The group realizes the truth. The spirits let them live, but only because they are now part of the island. They will never truly escape. The screen fades to black as the camera pans out, showing the island growing darker, its jungle closing in like a living entity. A faint whisper echoes, "You will return." Vacation horror story, The Island's Secret, Part 3. The group is now stranded on Eclipse Island, with their guide Mateo missing and their boat destroyed. Fear grips them as they realize they have no way off the island, and the spirits are far from appeased. Sophia feels a strange pull toward the jungle, as if the island itself is whispering her name, calling her deeper into its cursed heart. The jungle's call. Sophia begins acting strangely. She becomes distant and claims she hears voices guiding her. She insists that the group must go back to the altar, saying, "There's something we missed. They're waiting for us to finish." The others are reluctant, but as the jungle grows darker and more hostile, they have no choice but to follow Sophia's lead. The shadows around them seem to move with intent, watching and waiting. Mateo's warning. On their way back to the altar, the group stumbles upon Mateo, who is gravely injured and barely conscious. He warns them, "The spirits lied. Sacrifice is only the beginning. They want more, much more." Before they can question him further, Mateo succumbs to his injuries, his body quickly consumed by the jungle as vines wrap around him and drag him into the undergrowth. The group is horrified, but presses on, now more terrified than ever. The truth revealed. At the altar, Sophia collapses to her knees, seemingly in a trance. She begins speaking in a voice that is not her own, reciting an ancient chant. The ground trembles, and the altar splits open, revealing a hidden chamber beneath. Inside the chamber, they find an ancient book and the remains of Dr. Elena Morris. The book explains the true nature of the island. The spirits are not protectors, but prisoners. The ancient tribe had trapped a malevolent force within the island, and every trespasser weakens the barrier, keeping it contained. To save the world, one must bind their soul to the island, becoming its eternal guardian. The book reads, "The ultimate choice." Sophia, still under the influence of the island, declares that she is willing to stay and become the guardian. The others protest, but she insists it's the only way to stop the spirits from escaping and wreaking havoc. As the group argues, the jungle erupts in chaos once more. The spirits materialize, no longer just shadows, but monstrous forms of twisted, human-like figures with glowing eyes and jagged teeth. They close in, forcing the group to make a decision. Sophia's sacrifice. Realizing there is no other way, Sophia steps onto the altar. She recites the incantation from the book, her voice merging with the whispers of the spirits. A blinding light engulfs her, and the spirits let out a deafening scream before vanishing into the jungle. When the light fades, Sophia is gone, and the jungle falls silent. The group feels an overwhelming sense of sorrow, but also relief. The island's curse seems to have lifted, and the oppressive atmosphere dissipates. The group finds an old, abandoned boat hidden near the shore. It's as if the island is letting them leave. They sail away, exhausted and heartbroken, leaving Sophia behind. As they reach the mainland, they notice something strange. The scars on their bodies from the jungle disappear, and their memories of the island begin to fade. By the time they step off the boat, they can no longer remember Sophia or why they ever went to Eclipse Island. Back on the island, Sophia stands at the altar, her eyes glowing faintly. She is now the guardian, bound to the island for eternity. The camera pans out to show the island, still beautiful and serene on the surface, hiding the darkness within. As the screen fades to black, a faint whisper echoes, "Welcome, traveler." Vacation horror story, The Island's Secret, Part 4. The story picks up years later. The surviving group, Emma, Jake, Lisa, and Ryan, have moved on with their lives, their memories of Eclipse Island wiped clean. But the island isn't finished with them. Its dark influence has spread beyond its shores, reaching into their lives in terrifying ways. The lingering curse. Emma, now married and living in a quiet town, begins to have disturbing dreams. In these dreams, she sees Sophia standing on the altar, her glowing eyes filled with sorrow. Sophia whispers, "You must come back. It's not over." Jake, who has become a travel photographer, starts seeing strange figures in his photos, shadowy shapes in the background that weren't there when he took the pictures. He dismisses them as glitches, but the shapes grow clearer with each photo. Lisa, who had been the skeptic of the group, starts hearing whispers again. This time, they're louder, more insistent. One night, she finds the tribal symbols carved into her bedroom walls. Ryan, the most traumatized of the group, begins experiencing sleep paralysis. During these episodes, he sees shadowy figures standing at the foot of his bed, their glowing eyes watching him. Sophia's message. One night, all four of them receive a package at the same time, despite being in different parts of the world. Inside each package is a single item they recognize from their time on Eclipse Island. A photograph, a journal entry, a piece of the broken altar stone. Along with it is a note in Sophia's handwriting. "The barrier is breaking. You must return before it's too late." Though they have no memory of the island, the items stir something deep within them. Against their better judgment, they all agree to meet and figure out what's happening. The group reunites, each sharing their experiences and the items they received. The memories of Eclipse Island slowly begin to resurface, bringing with them a wave of fear and guilt. Determined to find answers, they seek out a local historian who specializes in ancient curses. The historian, Dr. Malik, explains that the island's curse was never fully lifted. The spirits were temporarily subdued, but the malevolent force they contained is growing stronger. The island's guardian, Dr. Malik explains, is weakening. If the barrier breaks, the entity will escape, and it won't stop at the island. The group realizes Sophia is in danger, and the world may be at risk. They must return to the island to finish what they started. The group hires a new guide, a young woman named Talia, who claims to have experience with supernatural phenomena. Talia warns them that the island has likely changed since they were last there. The longer the entity is contained, the angrier it becomes, she says. When they arrive, the island is barely recognizable. The once lush jungle is now dark and twisted, the trees gnarled and lifeless. The air is thick with the stench of decay, and the whispers are louder than ever. Sophia's transformation. At the altar, they find Sophia, but she's no longer the same. Her once warm demeanor is replaced by an eerie calm, and her glowing eyes reveal her connection to the island. "You shouldn't have come back," Sophia says. "The entity is too strong now. It feeds on your fear, your memories. It knows you're here." The group tries to convince her to help them, but Sophia reveals a horrifying truth. The only way to destroy the entity is to destroy the island, and everything on it, including her. The final battle. The group ventures deep into the jungle to find the heart of the entity's power. Guided by Sophia, They navigate through traps and illusions created by the spirits. The jungle itself seems to fight against them, with roots rising to trip them and shadows attacking from every direction. At the center of the island, they find a massive, pulsating orb of darkness, the entity's core. The group works together to perform an ancient ritual from Dr. Malik's research, using the items they received in the packages as offerings. As the ritual progresses, the entity lashes out, creating terrifying visions of their worst fears. Ryan is nearly consumed by the shadows, but Sophia sacrifices part of her own essence to save him. The sacrifice. The ritual requires a final act of selflessness. One of them must give their life to seal the entity forever. Before anyone can volunteer, Sophia steps forward. "This is my burden," she says. "I've been the guardian for too long. It's time to end this." Sophia channels her remaining strength into the ritual, and the orb of darkness explodes in a blinding light. The jungle begins to crumble, and the island starts sinking into the ocean. The escape. The group barely makes it back to their boat as the island disappears beneath the waves. In the distance, they see Sophia standing on the shore, smiling faintly before vanishing. Back on the mainland, the group feels a sense of closure. The whispers are gone, and their nightmares cease. Though they grieve for Sophia, they know she saved them and the world. The twist. Ending. Months later, Emma receives a letter with no return address. Inside is a single sentence. The island may be gone, but the entity is never truly destroyed. The screen fades to black as Emma looks out her window, where a shadowy figure with glowing eyes watches from the darkness.